Right, how long has it been since we've known each other now?
I'm trying to think of when we first met, too.
Yeah. Scooch this way just a bit. Been told that we're going to get more in line with this guy here, so that's like dead center.
Yeah, you've got your table and
Yeah, you're great wherever you are.
So these mics are not that sensitive, so you can get quite close to them.
Okay.
So that's one thing is you'll find it'll be like this far away from you when you're talking to it.
Yeah, okay.
You'll hear yourself in this a little bit. I usually get them to turn down the volume so you can mostly not hear yourself.
Yeah. Left side, right side, does it matter?
There's the left and the right on the internal. I think the cable goes on the left side.
Yeah, there we go.
And if you scooch and put this line in your dead center, keep going, keep going. And now you can hear everybody.
There we go. Good.
You got the radio voice going.
So yeah, I can't even remember when we first met.
We met, so Jeff introduced us. I think that's when it was, right? Back when we were rewiring our house to sell it, I think.
Yeah, that's going way back.
Yeah. It was like at least 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when did you start?
Well, we're in year 6 now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Year 6. Yeah. So you just started when we met.
Yep.
Yeah. Perfect. Are you rolling already? Perfect. Do you want to chuck the on-air sign on and then give me a flash at an hour? I usually try to keep these like 45 minutes.
Okay.
As a rule of thumb, it usually goes over. 'Cause we get into like conversations about stuff where you're like, oh, that's kind of curious. So, and then I'm just making notes just on things I want to dive into. So, what I really wanted to talk to you about today is how do you build a service-based business in today's market? Because one of the things that you did really well, and it shone through, was building, and you were very active in the marketing, but also like the word of mouth marketing and all that. So I'd like to go back to the beginning, like 6 years ago now.
Okay, 6 years ago.
Yeah. So let's start with did you just become an electrician and then started out, or were you an apprentice first?
So where I first started was college, actually. So 3 years in college doing electrical. That was kind of the beginning. And that was St. Lawrence and Kingston.
Okay.
And then moved back home. Of course, moved back home with my parents, trying to get my feet under me and go from there. And then because I had the electrical background, I started an electrical apprenticeship locally. So I worked with a local company for my entire apprenticeship. So it should take 5 years. It took me about 4 years and 2 months. And then worked for that company for 16 years.
Wow.
And then after 16 years, decided, okay, I want to take a run at this myself.
Yeah. Why did you decide you want to take a run at it? Was you just getting to the point where you felt you could do this by yourself? Were you tired of being an apprentice? Because, you're kind of like an apprentice until you get out on your own, right?
Well, like you're a journeyman. Like once you do your 5 years, you're a journeyman. So it's like I'm running jobs, I'm quoting jobs, I'm running jobs. I'm running job sites that might have 2 people. They might have 10 people. So, and then it's always bigger jobs too, right? So it's like, same thing with my guys. I'm always pushing them like bigger jobs. So it just got to a point where it's like, I'm going to a job for a site visit. I'm doing the quoting. I'm talking to the engineers. I'm getting pricing from our distributors. And then I'm putting everything all together and I do the quote. And that was kind of it. It's like I did one job, which was kind of like the light switch for me. Like no pun intended, but it was the light switch for me where it's like I did one job and I said, okay, I did absolutely everything on this job. Like right from the beginning, first walk around, right to we are complete. And all the paperwork and everything in between. And then that job was like, it was like a 3-month job with like 5 people underneath me.
Why were you doing end to end on that? Was it just at the team, your boss was like so busy that he just like, you could do with that job?
Well, it was...
Because he must have known at this point how ambitious you are, because it's very apparent when you spend like 2 minutes talking to you.
Yeah. I think it was 2 things really. One, because we were busy. And then the second thing was the job was a little bit out of town. It was kind of outside of our range. So it wasn't quick and easy for him to, hey, go look at this job. He pretty much sent to me, be like, hey, listen, we have a job. It was actually, I think it was like up in Peterborough. So it was like,
Good hour
an
away.
hour 45, something like an hour and a half. Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of like, hey, go look at this job. And then the job was actually bigger than what he anticipated. And because I did the first walk around, well, now all of a sudden I'm in on this job. And he just kind of let me run with it. And I said, okay, I have great notes, lay everything down, and, away we went. So
Did you go into it knowing that eventually you would make your own business out of it? Or were you just like, I just need a job and this is what I'm decent at?
No, I think it's always in the back of your mind. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's like that for everybody, but it was always in the back of my mind, right?
If
like
you're
I
sitting
think
in front of me, usually it's in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Because I don't usually get too many people who sit
Yeah.
there and be like, I'm happy being employed.
yeah.
I get the
Exactly.
people who are like, I was good at being employed. I was decent. I just couldn't escape that little voice in the back of my head just saying, go get it.
Yeah.
Like try this for yourself.
Yeah. So I think it was, I think it had to be the timing. You had to get, I guess it was like the confidence as well to know it's like, okay, I can, I can do the admin, I can do the quoting, I can do the office stuff. Like I was great at the tools and doing all that, but it's like, can I actually like, because you hear about so many people where it's like, okay, a tradesperson starts his own business, but he doesn't know how to run a business. So it's like, that's been my biggest learning. The biggest learning curve is to switch into the business mode and be a good, businessman, a good employer, everything else, everything that comes along with like the admin stuff, to be good at that angle, because that was just something you have to kind of learn, figure out, listen to podcasts, read books, talk to people, do all that stuff to.
So even though you were getting started in something you didn't know, you still went and just self-educated? Or did you take courses on that for running the business?
Well, for an electrician, if you do want to be an electrical contractor, if you want to start your own business, you have to become a master electrician. And one piece of the masters is they do talk about, like, you have to write an exam at the end, but it's also a lot of training to say like, okay, here's the first few steps of, the rules and the laws and what you need to know. So that was a little bit of an introduction, but that was like just enough to get you certified, just enough to make you dangerous, and then you have to really learn it.
Yeah.
Like you just have to go find the resources and just say, okay, learn every little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then 6 years ago, you made that jump.
Mm-hmm.
And that was after that job where you're like, I can do this. Oh,
Yeah.
So were you training up to be a master electrician at that point, or were you just jumped out, trained up to be a master electrician, then jumped into being your own business?
Well, it was kind of like, I knew that I wanted to jump out and do it myself. And then the prerequisite was, okay, you have to have the master's license. So that was kind of like the next step, where it's like, okay, go challenge the exam, study for the exam, challenge the exam, get your master's license. Okay, check that one box off, and then you got to check off like 6 other boxes, and then boom, now you're an electrical contractor. So that's kind of how that went down. So there were a whole bunch of steps.
Yeah.
That,
so it's not like you can just jump out and then you're kind of like sink or swim. It's like you had some kind of structure in mind before you got out there.
Yeah. Well, as far as that structure, it's basically the Electrical Safety Authority. They basically say, okay, if you want to be an electrical contractor, you have to check all these boxes first. That doesn't mean you're going to be a great businessman or you're going to know what you're going to do, but you need to at least legally check these boxes. So once you do all that, then it's pretty much like sink or swim. Here you go. All right, here's your license. You are now allowed to do electrical and pull permits and, try your best.
All right. So I want to hear, this is the part that I'm excited to hear about, because I've watched your progress from that early stage to now, and you've had such an exponential growth, and I love that. And I kind of want to break down the idea of this podcast is to give people a little bit of a roadmap in how they can do the same thing. So if an electrician's listening right now going, I'm just doing my master's and then I'm going into running this business, what are some of the early, give me a good stumbling story to start. Let's start there, and then how you kind of built out your brand, how you built out the idea of what you wanted to build, and then eventually bringing people in.
Okay. So I guess at the beginning, Usually if you're an electrician and you're going to go out on your own, you normally, people, right? And that was my biggest thing is 16 years in the business, and, Belleville being a small town and like the surrounding area and all that. The fact that people knew who I was, like kind of already, that really helped.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of, the news travels, and then all of a sudden, I have a truck, it has my name on it, the word gets around, that's the advertising, the phone starts to ring, social media, get on social media, you post a whole bunch, my friends share it, my family share it, and it just kind of spirals that way, right? But then when you start out, it's like, okay, because you have ratios of apprentices to electricians, it's like, okay, I'm an electrician, I'm allowed to have one apprentice. So it's like, okay, you start out with one apprentice. Well, then there's certain jobs that you can, because you're a one-man show with an apprentice, there's only certain jobs that you can do. And because you need to be able to, you don't want to take on these huge projects.
Yeah, and then take 6 months to do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, so you have to start small that way. Mm-hmm. So that's where you start, it's like, okay, you start out doing service calls, you're doing one-day jobs, you're doing all that stuff, right? And then you get to a point where, I got to a point where it's like, okay, I'm working through the day, I'm doing office work in the evening or on the weekends, and there's a tipping point where it's like, okay, I have too much work. It always seems like I have too much work for me.
Yeah.
But not enough for somebody full time. But then you just have to kind of say, okay, we're going to take this jump. I'm going to hire somebody. But then that also, so it's like, okay, great. Now that kind of frees me up because now I can do more office stuff. Now I can get more work, so I can keep this person busy. And then, so you're starting to kind of like build a little bit like momentum, right? It's like slowly building. And then I always kind of keep it like, the employees, I have the mindset where it's like the employees, because they're my responsibility, that I need to keep them working, right? So it puts a hustle on me to be like, okay, I had my apprentice, okay, I hired another electrician. Okay, it's my responsibility that those two people get 40 hours a week. So now I'm hustling. So it's like we go back to like, okay, I don't quite have 40 hours, don't quite have enough work, to hire somebody, but now I got a little bit of fire under me where It's like, okay, I need to dig some up.
So
right?
Were you predominantly using word of mouth at this point? So you're utilizing that network to get the work in? Or, because one of the things I remember you doing, which was really smart, was after you'd finished doing the electrical work at our place, mm-hmm. is you turned around and said, hey, do you mind leaving me a Google review? Mm-hmm. Which is a very simple thing for any service-based business to do, but it can make a big difference because then that brings up the rankings in there, right? So we're assuming at this point that you have some kind of website, right? So, and then from there, you just start pushing people to that. Is your website your main kind of online presence, or is your socials your main online presence for you?
Google reviews are huge.
Yeah.
I have, and as it brings you up the ranking. So we have a website. I built the website when I first started. There's a few pictures on it. It's my website's it's general.
Yep.
I don't keep updating it. A lot of people know what electricians do. So it's just like, as long as I have a website on there and then I have the Google reviews, that kind of bounces around. But I have had just random people call me up and be like, oh, hey, we're looking for an electrician. We want to finish our basement. We want to do this. Oh, you have like amazing Google reviews. Can you come look at our job? Can you come do our job? A lot of times it's just come do it. Yeah. And
because it's like prerequisite. Like if someone's getting really good reviews and a lot of them, that's good work.
Yeah, exactly.
So, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, that's right. And then like we're in the world of everything's digital. Everyone's grabbing their phone. It's like a quick, it's like electricians near me, Belleville electricians are just like, everyone's just like, it's a Google search, right? So if you can get on there, like especially starting out, it's like, get yourself on there, get yourself noticed.
Yeah. How did you get that started? Because, did you just tap into your network and be like, hey, I'm starting this, can you please share it? Can you please leave a review? Did you pull in your network and get reviews early to try and start that, or did you review specifically from work?
Basically, it was just, like as soon as we complete the job, everybody's happy. It's like, hey, do you mind leaving? I'm starting out can you give me, I always say, can you give me an honest review?
Yeah.
No, it's like, can you please give me a 5-star review? No, it's like, just give me an honest review, right? And then one thing I've kind of found, some people will, but a lot of people are kind of like, yeah, I'll do it when I have time. And
They
it's
never
like,
do.
And they never do. That's right. Exactly. And then it's like, I try to make it easy, because then if I email them an invoice, I actually give them a link. Like, I'm trying to make this easy for you. Just click the link and just take 20 seconds and just fill it out. Right. And then at the early stages, even just to get people to, like, it was the motivation to get people to leave the reviews. Yeah. I'd be like, hey, I'll give you a $10 Tim's card.
Yeah, perfect.
For an honest review. Yeah. I'm not saying
I'm not trying to buy a 5-star, but right. I mean, at the same time, I need reviews.
For an honest review. Yeah. I'll give you and that right there is kind of the carrot to be like, oh yeah, okay, we'll do that. Okay, well, thanks. I appreciate the review. And then away we go. And then it just kind of starts.
Do you have any reviews that stand out to you that were kind of like funny, bad, good? Like, do you have one that you're like, that review just killed me?
No, because they're all, I wouldn't say, they're all just kind of like, it's like, oh, did a great job with our basement. Did a great job doing this, doing that. So it's not really, there's nothing like witty or anything like that where it's like I read it and I laugh. Like, I mean, we're kind of like chuckling and laughing, smiling here, right? And that's the same way with clients too, right? Like, we'll joke around and we'll talk about things. We'll have a good time, right? So you need to have fun while you work. So,
well, and that's what drew me to when we started working, when we were working together, when you came in and did some electrical work with us, it was a night and day from dealing with different electricians. Because often I grew up with electricians, because my dad was an electrician. I was an electrician's apprentice in France, and so I know that world pretty well. And some of them can be pretty dry. And so to have an electrician who's young and ambitious, right? And also, you didn't talk about electrical work when you came. So as soon as you found out that I was a photographer, you wanted to talk about social media. Like, how do you think I should do this? How do you think I should do that? Because you were so curious. And I was at that point too, trying to figure out how to grow my business. So we're like, hey, I tried this, it worked. Hey, I tried this. So it was like two young businessmen standing there going, like, this works, try this for me. I'll try this and see if it works, right? Because I remember just saying, like, push everything into the website, right, as much as you can, because that's going to be your main kind of like boost when you're growing your service, right? And because it's the same thing that happened for me. Is like, just keep that, relevancy of your website, and socials can do that really well by just consistently pushing back and just saying, hey, go check out our website for this, so you can kind of generate that flow. So So let's fast forward to your first employee. So how did that feel when you started that up? What were some of the worries you had?
Well, it was of course, like the first thing, which is make sure that I have work in front of him, right? Like it was always like, okay, if I have 2 weeks work ahead of my crew, then I'm happy, right? And then, the size I am now it's like I want to be booked out like a month now, because then that makes me, I can actually somewhat sleep at night, where it's like, okay, we're good here, like we're rolling.
People don't see the scaling equals overhead equals stress. So the more overhead you have in a business, the more stress it can give you. So you have to learn to deal with that stress very well, right? And so that's the number one thing when you start scaling, right? It's like you start noticing, like, oh my gosh, like when I was just starting my business, if I bought in this amount, I was happy, and now that's what I need to hit per job, to continue to grow the way I want to grow. So do you find yourself kind of looking at projects now, trying to figure out how to jump to the bigger scale, or are you happy with where you're at right now?
I'm always eager, and I always want to grow.
What does that sound like for you?
Like I like doing the bigger projects. I like there's enjoyment on. There's enjoyment of, it could be someone's house where, you go down to their basement and they have pull chain lights, and they have to walk around their crawl space and click the lights. And they're like, well, it'd be nice to have a light switch at the bottom of the stairs. It's like, okay, well, that's easy. It's just like, boom, boom, an hour later, okay, here's your light switch. And like that to them is like the world. Yeah. Because it's like, now they don't have to go around and like pull little chains and do stuff like that. And it's like, that's like a very small scale where it's just like that's easy. Yeah. But it's like to them, it's just like, oh, this is like, I don't have to pull 4 chains now when I come down to my basement or my crawl space or something like that, right? So it's like there's a lot of enjoyment in that, and that's just like a small one. But then it's also like, I think it's because I'm like, like even as a child, I was like very competitive. I always wanted to like, try to be the best, right? Sometimes you're not always the best, but you try to be the best, and you practice, you do all that stuff, and you try to grow and try to like outbeat yourself like every day. And so I kind of like that where it comes to like the challenging projects. So it might not be a big project, but it could be like something that's challenging to be like, okay, hey, let's take this challenge on. Let's, and then at the end of it, it's like, okay, that was stressful. That was a battle, but look at this job now, right? Like it could be a solar job. It's like, okay, we, our first solar job, we are learning every step of the way.
Yeah.
And then when the job's done, you're like, awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Look what we just did.
Well, and your way of solving problems was drastically different than what I was used to too. Is because you looked at the technology that was available now versus what was there. So for us, it was like we had a basement stairs going, and there was like 15 stairs or whatever it was to the end of the basement, and at the bottom was the light. And then the guy came through and did like the house kind of like inspection and said you need to have a light at the top of the stairs, which kind of makes sense, right? Yeah. And so I sat there, I was like, well, and I'm like looking at the wall, and I know I've opened that wall up because we had a flood like probably 5 years before that, so I knew that wall well, and I knew it was like just like struts everywhere. I'm like, an electrician's got to come in, rip this wall off, like drill a whole bunch of holes to get to where he needs to get to, and it's going to be an absolute mess. And I remember telling you that, and you're just like, or we just put like a switch that connects to that switch.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like no wires, and I'm just like, okay, this guy gets it.
Yeah.
And then you installed like at the time it was cutting edge like switch, where it's just literally a switch that you kind of turn on, turn off, and it's connected wirelessly to that one.
Yeah.
So you decided early in your career to start embracing like technology. Tell me about that.
So that's a great trick, is just using the Pico, put the switch in at the bottom of the stairs, have the remote connected directly to that switch, mount the remote on the wall, top of the stairs. It saves running wires, cutting drywall. We've done that many times, and it's a very quick in and out and a very clean install. And yeah, so that was kind of like the first taste of the technology, and then that opened the door for like the home automation side of things. Yeah. And so that was kind of like our first taste of home automation. And then of course, it's like, okay, well, that's pretty neat. What else is out there? And then you start to look a little bit, you dig a little bit deeper, right? And then, so that's kind of what we did, is we said, okay, well, there's a lot of automation out there. The bigger cities are doing all this automation. So then, we open that door, we start doing research, same thing, listen to some podcasts, do some research, attend, a couple seminars, let's learn about this, right?
Yeah.
And that's like a whole different kind of area. Now it does go hand in hand, like, so, we'll have like a custom home, and the person wants to have home audio. They want to have smart lighting. They want to have cameras, security. They want to have all of that. Well, it's really nice because we can do the electrical, but we can also do the smart lighting. Like, it's like, well, we're there. We'll pull speaker cables. We'll pull, our Cat 5 or a Cat 6 for your office, for your cameras, your wireless access points. We'll do all your networking. We'll do all that stuff. So it's like, as soon as we took that one step, I guess it's kind of like a one step sideways to see, the other,
because that's not
piece.
That's not traditionally electricians' kind of like main wheelhouse, right? Like electricians are, lights, heat, that kind of thing. That's kind of like your electrician's wheelhouse. But now what you're going into is more of the luxury side of it, which is, speaker cables, which could be data cables. And so you saw an opportunity to run parallel, like you're still going in the same direction, but you ran in parallel this business of home automation. Did that eventually become its own business, or is it still like merged directly into, because it's Davidson Electric, right? Is that correct?
So Davidson Electrical is the electrical business.
Yeah.
And then we branched out to Quinty Smart Homes. Okay. So that is our smart
company.
Home. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we branched out completely just to separate ourselves from from the electrical.
Yep.
Because it's like, okay, you know, out of all of the electricians, which electrician was the one who does the automation? It's like, okay, Quinny Smart Homes. You know,
Yep.
the smart homes is in the name, so great for marketing, great for advertising,
Yeah.
because it's like, you know, you type in smart homes into Google, it's like it's going to catch it, it's going to grab it, right?
Do you regret putting the location into the brand name?
I think because Quinty is so broad, because I put a lot of thought, and that kind of goes back to, it's like, you know, a good piece of wisdom is I don't like to make decisions quickly, because I haven't like been really stung on that, but it's like I've had those moments where 6 months down the road, I'm like, oh, I should have done it a little bit differently. So there was a lot of thought that went into the name. As far as, because there's, and then when I did, so as far as Quinny Smart Homes, when I did my research as well to see, okay, what companies are around in the area, and then when you start stretching out even to like, you know, to Kingston or to, you know, you start going towards like the GTA, I'm looking at all the names, right? And a lot of the names they're very high-tech names.
Can you give an example, or you don't want to give example of competitors?
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can.
Like Innotech or something like that, you're thinking? Like something
yeah,
that's
like it'd be something like that.
they
where
take
it's
like a fancy, innovative name, but then try and mash it with something to kind of tell people what they do.
That's right. Like even automation. Like if it was something, like if it was like, I mean, maybe Quinny Home Automation would work. Or like if you're trying to, like smart home, everybody knows. Everyone like that's a buzzword that people throw around, right? It's like, oh, I want a smart home. I want a smart home. So that's why I went with that, versus doing like something like you know, even automation. It might be a little bit kind of blurry for some people.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of kept it. It's like the basic line. Like
It's
like
a tough one to scale, and so this is one thing that we talk about with brands when we work with them is if you put a name of a location in, it's hard to scale. Because, you know, Quinny is Quinny.
Yeah.
Right. So if you decide that you want to, you know, go to Peterborough and Kingston, which are two, like Belleville's here, Kingston's 70 kilometers this way, Peterborough's like 85 kilometers this way, but it feels like 200 kilometers that way. Right. You now have a very specific brand from this area. So people here know you're not from there, and people here know you're not from there. It's like when you see like, you know, GTA something, where you're like, okay, well, that's a Toronto-based business, right? So do you find that that's limiting you or helping you as far as your brand goes?
As of right now, I would say it's not limiting us right now.
Yeah.
Like it, I mean, I do get the question, because like we have gone to Peterborough, we've gone to Kingston. And
do they ask you, do you come this far?
They do ask that question.
Yeah, because of the name.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do get that question all the time. They're like, oh, do you come up here? I'm like, yeah, we sure do.
So if you wanted to scale beyond that, would you drop part of the name, or would you just use like Smart Homes as like your main, or try to find some variant on that and then have like Quinny Smart Homes, Kingston Smart Homes? How would you do that? Because I'm thinking on a service-based business, it's great to have the location, but then you're bound to that location.
Right. I think we'll cross that bridge when we get there. To see
it's like that slow thinking again. It's like, I'm going to make a decision, but it's going to take time.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think it hasn't popped up yet, so I haven't had to address that question yet to say, okay, if we do push, because right now it's like, you know, we can push in those directions, and it's not really, it doesn't seem to impact everything. What I noticed as well, and this is another reason why I went out, why we started Quinny Smart Homes, is people that were building those custom homes or those large houses, they, you know, they're moving from the GTA, they're moving from Ottawa, and they're coming into the area, and they were willing to bring their people from Ottawa here to do their automation, because it's like, oh, we have automation in Ottawa, you know, they're asking them to travel, so like they might be traveling 3 hours just to come, just to do and then, you know, so it's like 3 hours there, 3 hours back, plus, you know, a few hours actually on site. Yeah. So I know a lot of the clientele, they will bring their people, and that was one thing I noticed right from the get-go. It's like, okay, if I have someone from the GTA, if I have someone from Ottawa coming here, building, you know, looking for a smart home, looking for the automation, how do I get in front of them before they already bring the Ottawa company
Yeah.
or the Toronto company, right? So that was...
Yeah. And that could be, I mean, a solution to that would be to ramp up on the social front and just show people what you do. And that's as simple as, you know, like there's a couple of different TikTokers that I follow, and I was like, oh, if I was in LA, I probably would pick them as my garage, right? Because I love watching their content, but at the same time, there's not enough proximity for, right? So I think like if you did something like that, where if they're like, oh, you know, that's a really cool concept, right? So like the home automation is exploding right now. And I think you're on the cusp of another massive shift based on what we're seeing coming down technology-wise, right? So right now, smart home is kind of dumb smart home. Does that make sense? Because it's like I/O, right now. But now we're going to add more connectivity, more AI into this. So there's going to be some like processing that's going to happen where people are going to have eventually like a small like home computer in the wall that will basically be like, oh, no one's in this room. Let me turn off those lights. You know, let me reduce the heat just to keep the heat bill down. Let me do this. Let me do that. And it modifies based on that. Because I know that like the Nest and all of those kind of like smart home stuff are more schedule based and system based versus assessment based. It's like a fair.
Yeah, and then I will add to that as well, where like when you're talking about the Ring and the different products, where there's also a big line between it's consumer grade and then you get into like the specialized, like exactly what we do, where it is specialized. You know, like we're Control4 dealers, so you can't go to a box store and buy our products, but we can spin circles around what is sold on the shelves of box stores.
Yeah.
So that's something we really have to like educate the client. Like if we're talking to them where it's like, okay, well, I did my research and I was on the Home Depot website. I'm like, okay. And it's like, well, we have this, and this. I'm like, okay, that's kind of a DIY consumer grade. If you want to add, you know, if you want the thermostat and that's all you want in your house and that's all you can handle and you set your schedule up, okay, that's perfect. That's good for you. Everyone has their fit as, you know, how far they want to go or if they want to go or whatever. But then when you get into the entire home, like it's like to bridge it all together, to have it all work together, that's, you know, we get like a lot of calls where it's like, okay, I just changed my ISP and I had, you know, I just changed my internet. So I used to have Bell, now I have Cogeco. I have 30 devices, everything's messed up. Nothing works. And it's like, okay. And then, you know, so we'll go in, we'll clean stuff up and do all that. But it's like, if there's a lot of consumer grade stuff, there's, you know, they might drop out. You change your ISP. If it's not installed right, it's like it can be more of a nuisance. And that would be one negative spin on like the smart home field or area. Yeah. Is, you know, because I've noticed this even at like we'll set up a booth at a trade show. And I'll have people walk by and be like, oh, I have Alexa, and I yell at Alexa, and my lights don't turn on, and all this stuff. I'm just kind of like, okay, well, yeah, you have some commercial stuff.
So making sure you don't turn off the lights in here.
And so it's like there's some commercial stuff, and so it does. If you go, depending on how far you go with it, it should really be, you know, specialized, and you should have somebody looking at it, because they'll get to a point where you buy so much commercial grade, so much box store stuff that it might be a little bit of a struggle. So that's kind of my warning. That's not the plug just to call me to sort everything out. But once you get to a certain point, like if you want a couple small things, you know, the box store might be your fit, right? But you know, if you want home audio and you want cameras and you want networking and you want all that, that's where you should call.
Where do you see all this going with automation? Like, because you've been in this field for a good amount of time now, and you've seen like the jumps forwards in 6 years. If we look ahead 6 years, what do you imagine the average smart home to look like? Do you think that smart homes are going to be the norm moving forwards?
Well, I know so when I first started out and I was taking courses in the automation field, And this was 4.5, 5 years ago. Because I think Quinny Smart Homes. So yeah, so we're in our 6th year now with our electrical business. We're in our 5th year of Quinny Smart Homes. So yeah, so 5 years ago, when I was sitting, getting training and doing different things, excuse me. When I was in the training, I was sitting with electrical apprentices at the time, and they said, you know, in our subdivisions, we are installing, like subdivision homes, we are installing smart switches in our subdivisions.
Wow.
So I'm sitting beside like a third-timer, not even an electrician yet.
Yeah.
He's an apprentice who is there learning about, you know, smart lighting.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, that's kind of a good sign. Like it's, you know, it's really ramping up, right? And what I've noticed in the last, I've noticed the audio and the video has really changed and really taken off.
Are you talking like surveillance, or are you talking like internal, like piping, like HDMI for cables? Like
like the HDMI, like all your like MOIP systems and like all that stuff. Like it's like all the media, all the audio, like everything over IP. Like it seems like so much stuff is going over IP.
And you call it MOIP?
Yeah, so media over IP. Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah. So and we also do some work as well in some restaurants. So we do a lot of like shading in different restaurants, and you know, this will be like, you know, so we'll go to Toronto for 3 days and do like a motorized shade install. Yeah. And they'll have their integrators there. So of course we're always looking around to see what they're doing. It's like there are Cat5 cables everywhere in that place. Like all their audio, all their TVs, like everything is like over IP. So a lot of stuff is going over IP. So I think it's going to push a lot more that direction, and that's just speed, quality. Yeah. You know, you can send so much more information like faster. Mm-hmm. So all the analog signals and all that stuff, I think is going to be kind of like trim back and more IP stuff.
Yeah, because there used to be a time when people would actually put a lot of kind of speaker cable everywhere, right? So this is a very similar kind of concept, just data cable instead.
Well, it'll be like you'll still have from your amplifiers to your speakers, like you'll still have that, but it's almost like sending the information to locations will be more IP based. Yeah. So like just like the distribution. So it's more of like we have like a matrix, and the matrix is basically, you know, if you have 8 zones of audio, you have a matrix, which is basically the map. It's basically the boss to say, okay, you know, I'm going to start my music in my kitchen. I want to play on the deck, the garage, the basement. Yeah. So a lot of the control, the back end stuff, like the stuff that you wouldn't see is going to be all the IP stuff.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Huh. So you think more homes are going to go this way? Like, because you're obviously taking a bet on the idea of home automation, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel that any new homes moving forwards are going to be more smart than like your current homes?
I think they're going to go, I think it's going to be more and more. As far as what pace it's going to be at, like I'm not going to say like, okay, next year it's going to explode. Like we see more and more because we're getting busier and busier because of all the streaming services. Like everyone's streaming, you know, the TV now. Like they're streaming videos, they're streaming shows. You can, you know, pretty much any major network can be streamed. Yeah. So, you know, that right there is just like, okay, we're putting smart TVs on the wall. It's like, okay, well, may I suggest you hardwire your TV, don't use it off of Wi-Fi. So it's like, so we hardwire. So it's like, you start with that, right? It's like, okay, we have more stuff hardwired. If you can hardwire it. So like, there's going to be a lot of that where it's like, and that's what we always push, where it's like, okay, you have the smart TVs. You have, you know, anything that you can run a wire to.
Why is that? Just because you want the best signal possible so they can get the best quality, or?
It's going to be for speed. I mean, we could manage Wi-Fi. There's more management when it's hardwired, but it's more for speed, and then it's like your broadband of like your Wi-Fi network as well, right? Yeah. So if we build a Wi-Fi network, you know, if you have, I mean, you know, my kids and their video games are a perfect example where, you know, I have 2 kids playing video games, and you know, we're trying to watch. Then we have a TV on, and we have, let's say we have an iPad on, or I'm on my computer, and it's just like the broadband just getting like choked right down, right? Where it's
chomped away at.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
And I mean, it was also like, when my son changed from a PS4 to a PS5, he used the Wi-Fi to transfer all his data over. Well, it was going to take 70 hours to transfer all his data over.
Data, yeah.
So then I made a couple patch cables and we plugged it in, and
2 hours later,
it was pretty it was like 45 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Transferred all his data, and just like that's how quick it was, right?
Yeah.
So just like, okay.
Because there's basically one hard drive to another at that point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we have a server back here, and so we have a fair amount of kind of wired devices. And one of the things that we use is an actual kind of network. Is that what's going into homes now? Are you finding that you're actually putting in like server based network systems?
We put a lot of racks in. That's right. Yeah. So because we can get them it's like a 6U, so it'll be like a small one, so it'll kind of handle like the main stuff.
This is Ubiquity, right?
That is one brand. Yeah. So we deal with because we're Control 4, there's a whole umbrella, like Snap One owns a whole bunch of products.
Okay. Yeah.
So they have Araxness networking equipment.
Yeah, and they all talk to each other, right? So
they all work great with each other, right? And it's it is really good quality stuff. There's a lot of management stuff. That's the stuff that we're trained in. It's we can dial it right in. It's not just like a plug and play and just hit an auto connect. It's no, we actually trim everything up. Like the wireless access points in people's houses, if they have 3 access points, we can actually control, how far they shoot, what's the range. So, because you don't want, it's kind of
you don't want a crossover, right?
That's right. You don't want 4 people in a room all shouting at each other.
Yes.
Right. So you dial them up so that, they're not, and then also if you walk from one end of your house to the other end of the house, there's a nice handshake where it's okay, I'm on this wireless access point. I walk over here. Well, you don't want it to be just hanging on, and it's I have one bar, and then all of a sudden it finally lets go, and by the time it lets go, you're 10 feet from the other access point, where it's well, I could have had full bars 20 feet ago. So there's a lot of trimming and dialing in and stuff like that goes along with it.
Interesting. So you're almost becoming more network engineer too.
Well, networking is so, and that kind of goes back to the box store stuff, where it's I hear people that say, they yell at their system and things don't work. 9 times out of 10, it's networking. Yeah. That's what it is. So it's and then that's what I say, the first thing I lead with on a custom home, where someone says, okay, I want audio, I want cameras, I want all this stuff. Okay, that's okay, good, perfect. Yeah, let's talk. And then the first thing I kind of come back with, it's okay, now that I know everything that you have, let's talk about network.
Which is the most interesting subject for anybody to talk about, right?
Well, that's it.
So how do you sell the idea of networking? Because I know when we put 20 grand's worth of networking in here, I was why am I spending this much money on networking? And then everyone around there who knew what they're doing were because this is what you need, right? You need these ridiculous speeds and this and So how do you broach that subject with a homeowner who they want their PS5 to work and they want their Roku box to work?
Well, we pretty much just tell them, this is what you need. For everything that you have right now, this is what you need. And it's kind of in a nice way, it's you're going to take our equipment or, that's it. There's no, we can negotiate a lot of things here, but I'm not going to install all of my equipment and then have you calling me all the time because you're using your ISP router.
Yeah. It's about developing yourself as an authority in that, right? Because then I always look at problems and say, how can we solve this in the best manner? And then that's what we offer. And then we don't back down from that. So when they sit there and say, oh, can we remove this or can we change this? I sit there and say, yes, you can, but not at the same results. You want the results that you're talking about. This is what it takes to make those results. Right? I can't change what it takes to make that happen. Yeah. So it's kind of the same with you, where you just got your servers and all of your networking that just come along with it because, you're asking for more from your home than you realize.
That's right. Yep. And then also just to kind of to add to the networking. So let's say you bring in, I'm going to say, you bring Bell 5 in. Okay. So you bring Bell 5 in. Coach goes the same way. Every ISP is the same way. It's they're going to drop off the box. Okay. It's you have a modem, which is connected to the internet. Yep. Right. You have the router, which is like the traffic cop, hands out the IPs, does all that. You have the switch part of it. So you have like probably 4 ports in the back of it. That's your switch. And then it also broadcasts Wi-Fi. So it shoots Wi-Fi around your house as well. So you have 4 devices in one.
Yeah.
So what we will do is we will take that device, we will turn everything off except for the modem. So we have access to the internet. And then we will actually buy a router. It's a separate device in the rack. Okay, good. And then we'll size the switch. Okay, maybe it's an 8-port switch. Maybe it's a 16. Maybe it's a 64. We'll put that in. Maybe it's a PoE switch if you have cameras. We'll size the switch out. And then what we'll do is we'll actually have access points as well. So we'll have access points throughout the house that we, we figure out where the best, it all shoots a circle. So we kind of figure out in the house, okay, where do we get the best coverage? Let's try to hide them in closets and laundry rooms and different things like that so you can't see them. So we have, with a router, a switch, and our wireless access points, we have all individuals, but going back to your ISP, where you have 4 devices in one, they're trying to like mass produce those as cheaply as possible because they're going to go in as many homes as possible. What do you think the quality is of that one? When you try to ram 4 items into one box and keep the price cheap, and that's where a lot of people run into issues where it's like, well, my stuff doesn't work, and it's like, okay, well, this is why our router's better, is because it can handle this much traffic, it can handle this high tech stuff, it can handle all of that. So that's I usually explain that to a lot of clients. And then also, what else is very important is, let's say, okay, you have our router and everything else that I've listed, and you use Bell 5 for a year. Well, then Cogeco knocks on your door and they have a deal. So they say, okay, I'm going to go to Cogeco now. So what they do is they pull the Bell out and then they stick the Cogeco in. So now you have a different. So if
you have basically a different address now on the internet.
Well, exactly. And then what will happen is if all of your devices are on that, they were handed out by the Bell router. Well, when you put a new router in there, all your numbers are all messed up.
Yeah, because your IP's changed.
All your IPs have changed. That's right.
And if you don't have a static one, right, that's even worse.
That's right. Yeah. So that's one nice thing where it's like, okay, you take one of our systems, because we have our own router. I mean, you could change. Doesn't matter. You could change your ISP daily. Does not affect us.
Yeah, because you have a specific address that goes onto there.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
So that's kind of that's the conversation where it's like I usually talk some stuff like that, and it's like, okay, you kind of know what you're talking about when it comes to networking and all that. I'm like,
it's funny because you've really got you've got it down to a science of building out parallel businesses, right? Because you've got your electrician work, and then you've got your home automation work, which is it gets a lot more complex than just running wires, right? Because now you've got to understand internal NATs and all that kind of crap that comes along with networking. Where are you going next? Like, what do you see? Like, are you going to start to warehouse some of this stuff and be a provider? Or like, how do you scale to that next level? Like, because you've got a really good established couple of businesses. Do you plan on expanding another service business, or are you looking at more product-based business, or what's the future look like for you?
Well, I think as far as the electrical, I think we just keep doing what we're doing. Like it is a bit of a well-oiled machine. Like it's running nicely. So I think we just keep doing what we're doing with that. As far as the Quinny Smart Homes, I'm getting emails all the time. I'm getting bulletins all the time, like latest and greatest products. Oh, we're doing this. We're doing this. So that's going to be kind of growing, and it's like that's one thing with the automation. It's like something new comes in. It's like, oh, hey, this is okay. Cool. We have some new technology. Let's learn about this, right? Yeah. And that's where like the media over IP stuff, where that was all, that's kind of changing, and that's really ramping up. So that was kind of a new area that we kind of like did a bunch of research, bunch of learning. Okay, we have these as options now, right? And how can we kind of, I would say, make systems more efficient by using like the newest technologies? Because it's like, okay, it's like you have like the old way, And then some new technology comes out to do like, okay, we're doing audio or we're doing video a newer way, a more efficient way. So now you're constantly kind of learning that way. So as far as where the future is going to take us, I'm not too sure. I don't know. And as far as, I think we just kind of just keep growing, like just more projects, bigger projects. I think that's kind of the best way to kind of move forward, I guess, and just kind of see, once we're kind of in Belleville, we just kind of keep stretching out and go from there.
Keep going,
yeah.
For anybody listening who's getting started as an electrician or a tradesman, what are some of your number one pointers for them to get up and running in a year, we'll say? Like, imagine you've been dropped into a new town. Let's say, we take you and drop you into Ottawa. Like, how do you establish yourself there? How do you start growing the business? How do you...
So, a couple elements. There's the whole business side of things. So you have to be kind of set up kind of business-wise. And it's it does take money to make money, right? And that's one thing, when we deal with customers that, some are like 30-day pays, 60 days, like 90 days. It takes money to make money. So there's always that. So it's like, if you're thinking, okay, I want to make the jump. It's like, okay, well, you're going to need some credit. You're gonna need that. And it's like, you're going to have to be able to float for a little bit, right? Like, I need to, payrolls every 2 weeks. It comes every 2 weeks. And so that needs to be covered. You need to pay. There's that whole money side. So it takes money to make money. So, and that's where you start out. Okay, I started out with an operating line that was small. It has grown a lot since then because it has to. So that's from there's the money side right there. It takes money to make money. So you have to be able to have that kind of financial piece so that you're not.
So you're thinking like 3 months, 2 months, like or as much as they can get at the beginning?
I'd say almost as much as you can get at that beginning.
I know, like we burned for $100K last year building this studio, and like I sat there, I was like, I'm never going to spend all that, but you will spend it, right? And that's like, when we're looking at operating line of credits and stuff like that, just to cover that kind of up and downs. That's So that's a really good piece of advice for a lot of like young entrepreneurs. They get into it and they use their main account as their operating account and as the savings. Like, split those things up as quick as you can.
Oh, you definitely want to split that up. Yeah, that's right. Or else it gets a little bit crazy okay, what was personal, what was that? So you want to branch everything out, keep everything separate. And then there's all the startup costs where it's like, okay, I need a truck, I need a van, I need tools. And it's like, okay, you're going to start with just your hand tools, your drills, all that stuff. And then as you start to grow, it's like, okay, well, now I start needing like specialized tools. Maybe I need special benders, I need special this, special that. So as you grow, it's like you're constantly adding tools, whether they all might not be on your truck, they might be in your garage. Like I started in my garage, I outgrew my garage, and then I went to a 10 by 20 storage locker, and then I outgrew that, and now we rent a shop right now, which we've outgrown that as well, and now we are building a shop now that is even bigger, because that's kind of where we're at right now. So it all, it starts in your garage, and then you outgrow it, and and away we go. So that's kind of the business side of things. And then if you're dropped completely into Ottawa, it's like you need to get your name out there, and that's where, like, social is number one.
Yeah, like, are you talking social media?
Social media. Social media would be number one.
Okay, so how would you do it? You got 0 followers, open up your account, you've got the world in front of you.
Yeah, I got the world. Yeah, it's like...
Would you tell stories about it? Would you just document what you do?
We have a lot of people that love the behind the scenes. Like, it can be wires hanging all over the place. Here's the before of it just looks like spaghetti. And then it's like a picture of later. Everything's all tied in nice and neat into our switches. Our cabinets look nice, all that. We get more attention from those pictures that are taken with a cell phone that just got thrown up, more than like, something that's just kind of like, like not a stock photo, but like a polished up. Yeah. It's like, so there's a lot of people that they like to see, and I don't think it's like the nosy side, but it's almost like, it's kind of like the nosy neighbor, be like, oh, what are you doing over there? What are you doing over there? And it's like, okay, well, this is what we're doing today. This is what we're doing today. Like a lot of people eat that up, and that gets a lot of attention.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the big thing, where just post it. Like just take a picture.
Yeah.
Just throw it up there. You know, if you're hanging off a ladder and take a picture of, up high, even if you're on the top of the ladder and you're overlooking the city and it has nothing to do with the electrical, just be like, oh, look at the view I have today. Just throw something up like that, just to get your numbers up, get your posts up, and get the traffic that way, right? Because like one post once a month isn't going to do it. It has to be a lot more than that.
How much posting do you do? Because you're more established now, you can be a little bit lenient in that.
Well, I also have someone who does that for me now too, so I don't know.
So you outgrew that really quick.
I started doing it,
yep,
and I outgrew it, and I also, it wasn't my wheelhouse, and I wasn't doing it right, so I'm like, I need to hire someone who knows how to do it. Yep. And that was just kind of like, it freed up my time to do other things, because now I'm not worried. Like I'm not thinking I need to post. Okay, so I need to post on this platform, this platform, this platform.
Well, because they all have different voices too. So like, if you're building a service-based business today and you want to leverage socials to increase your following, to increase awareness, right? Because that's 90% of business is awareness. Like who knows you and what you do. Like if you're on Instagram, showing off the finished product as well as the behind the scenes works extraordinarily well. If you're on Facebook, you can literally just show the finished product. If you're on TikTok, if you show the finished product, you're not going to get as many views. It's actually better to talk about that thing that you did and just be more informal. So I'd say TikTok, try to be more informal than less formal. With Facebook, you can be as formal as you like. With LinkedIn, tell the story of how you did it in a very kind of practical manner. And then on Instagram, you can actually experiment a fair amount on there, because you can kind of blast stuff out there, right? So, and what I would do is show the process, show the finished product, but then talk about why you did it. So like walking in and showing and saying like, this is the job that I'm going to be working on, and the client needs a light switch there to here. Now I can rip through this wall and make a mess, which is going to absolutely drive people nuts, or we can use this, and this is what we're going to install today, and I'll show you how we did it. And I would just rinse and repeat every single day. Like if you can't afford social media management, right, then you got to get out there and hustle yourself, right? Socials in itself is a hustle. It's a business in itself, and that's where 99% of the awareness is now. Right? Most people, when they have 5 minutes to spare, what do? They don't log on to, to watch TV. They don't really tune in to listen to the radio. They want to control the content they have, so they go onto TikTok, onto Instagram, onto Facebook. That's where they consume stuff. So that's where you need to be.
Yep, exactly.
It's that simple. It's like you need to know where people are.
Yep.
And that's it. I would say that's the number one way of growing a service-based business. And then being consistent.
Yep, I completely agree.
Yeah, once a day.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And we do like the before or the during. Like we'll if we do like a during, like if we're pulling the cables and we're doing all that stuff, and then we'll see like, okay, like let's say we're doing audio, audio in someone's kitchen. We'll do either like a short little video or a couple pictures of like pulling cables, the tools out, all that stuff. And then it's like, okay, and then there's a picture of like, okay, we're ready for drywall. It's ready. And then, fast forward like 2 months, 3 months, well then you can follow up on, you can almost kind of like draw that attention back to be like, okay, anyone who's paying attention the first time to the rough end, now we're finished. Here's the finish off. And then you can hopefully catch some of the new people that didn't even see the first one, catch them with the last one, and then there's the interest to pull them into the first one. And then they're like, oh, okay, well, hey, look at this. So you can kind of like connect it and kind of loop it around, and it makes a nice little kind of like series or a little like a sequence of
it becomes a story.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
The thing that a lot of people don't do is they don't have that center hub for all of this. So like we talked about center hubs with like networks and stuff like that. This is the same kind of concept. Your website is the core of your brand, right? So that's the thing you should protect at all costs. So you get your website going. If you can't afford branding at the beginning, do your own branding. And it also takes like 3 to 5 years to understand what your business is before you can actually start doing some real branding on stuff. But then when you've got that brand established, is understanding the story that that tells. So for you, part of your success wasn't just because you're a good electrician. Your success came from being forward thinking and being a bit more open-minded when it came to new technology. So the people that aligned with you like new technology. I would say that they're probably like the first adopters, right? So a lot of the people that you're working with now are people like that who like to see progress. They like to see new technology in their home. And so they're not afraid of that. And so your brand naturally evolved around that too. And so that's the other thing that service-based people can do, is really understand what they stand for and what they stand against, right? Like you stand against traditionalism in so many ways, because you want to see the progress and like a better, easier home, or just more comfort, right? You want to see that versus, you know, having to go and pull like 5 chains to turn on lights, right? So that's the really interesting part of growing a brand too, is understanding the story behind the actual brand. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because we always joke about, you know, that fine line between convenience and laziness, right?
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, you know, you make your house, it's all about convenience, right? And, you know, like for example, like in my house, I have a good night button in my bedroom.
Okay.
So when my kids go down for their last minute snacks and waters and they leave every light on, I press one button and it's like in the house, like the door locks, the lights turn off, everything is like, the house is like put to bed, right?
Yeah.
It's like, some people could say that's laziness. Well, some people could say that's convenience.
Yeah, exactly.
I find it, well, maybe it's a bit of both, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna roll off of the convenience, and I don't have to run outside and unplug Christmas decorations and Christmas lights.
Exactly.
Because they're all, I can control it from, you know, from anywhere, right?
And if anyone's got young kids at home, they know the frustration of getting into bed and then hearing the kid running around, and then you hear the light turn on and you're waiting. And then you hear them run back upstairs. They got their water, they got all that. Because like going to bed as a child is the leading cause of dehydration, right?
Yeah,
So
like, seems like it.
Yeah. So they go out there and then you suddenly like, wait a second, that's like 1, 2, 3 switches they just went by and didn't hit any of them. They hit them the first time, and then on the way back they didn't, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's the number one thing I find. It's like, so laziness, sure, why not?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is my kids will they'll actually come like into my bedroom. They'll realize that they left lights on, and they'll come into my bedroom and they'll actually press the button. So now it's to the point I don't even have to press the button, because they know they left the lights on. Because I'm like, guys, you left all the lights on downstairs.
So why not put the button in the hallway?
I could do that too. Yeah. Yeah. Give them. I don't want to. I want to have all those conveniences, but I still would like to have my kids to learn to shut lights off too.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of, I'm walking that fine line where it's like, I want my house as automated as possible, but I don't want my kids to grow up and be 30 years old and not know how to turn a light switch off.
No, exactly.
Well,
they'll learn it as soon as they get the electric bill.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. As soon as they're paying for it. Absolutely. That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show. Really appreciate it. For people who want to follow along on your story and understand like how you do what you do and see the products that you can service and all of that, where do they find you? Where's your feeding grounds as far as it goes for your social media, your website?
Yeah. So as far as our website, it's davidsonelectrical.ca, QuinnySmartHomes.ca. That's our websites. We are on Instagram, and we are on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. You can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Yep.
And find us on Google. You type in Quinny Smart Homes on Google, you'll find us on there as well. So
nice. There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, man.
Perfect.
Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's great.
There you go.
Perfect, man.